It's alive.
Is it?
Maybe.
Is it alive? Yeah. I'm just checking the channels. Oh, yeah?
Should be.
Seems to work. So we're connected. Can kick off. Welcome to another live session of Into the CAOS. Our last bigger update, I think, was back in August. So it's time to catch up on a couple of things and share what happened over the last weeks and months, actually. I think a couple of topics that we will cover. So in the next 45 to 60 minutes are some highlights from CAOS and from ZITADEL, and also some new features that we introduced into ZITADEL, like metadata or handling external identity providers. Also actions and what you can do with it in your daily life, and performance optimizations of the system, and some other topics around that. Also, like in the last session, we want to dive a little bit deeper on some issues that we had around, especially end of August, and what we do to improve our quality of service since then. And lastly, at the end of the stream, we will also give you some insights on upcoming features and some discussions around how we will shape ZITADEL in the future. So maybe let's start off with some highlights from the last couple of weeks. I think noteworthy are especially a couple of things that we did as company, and I think one thing that we're quite proud of is we won one of the startup challenges here in Switzerland. It was Swisscom. It's the largest ICT provider in Switzerland. And they were looking for cybersecurity startups internationally. 80 startups applied for this challenge, and Swisscom selected 5 winners out of these 80 startups, with ZITADEL and CAOS being one of the projects as a winner. Yeah. So you might hear also something in the future in combination with Swisscom, and this was also very well received on our channel. So people liked what we did there, and we hope to continue that journey. Another thing that happened not long ago was actually in Switzerland. Also, there's a conference called DINACON. It's about digital sustainability, and they're looking for projects that go maybe a different way that it used to be, and are so leading to a more sustainable level of software. And ZITADEL also was there, the winner of the Best Newcomer Award, which is great to see. So because we maybe go a different route than other vendors in our area in terms of having an open approach. Yeah, so open source and open community. We also use the open standards that are out there. And this was also honored in this award, which is great, I think. Yeah, and maybe as a more general update also from my side, we are very happy to welcome new customers to our cloud service, ZITADEL, and it's really great to see that ZITADEL is taking off and is used on a daily basis as really for production application workloads every day. I think last time we checked, Florian, every minute somebody logs in with ZITADEL, and I think that number is only increasing from time to time. So it's really good to see that this is taking off. We will also start publishing some stories where we showcase certain applications that were built with ZITADEL. So the section also on our blog is called Built with ZITADEL. We started a series off with Smartiv, who basically replaced their old backend for a student app with ZITADEL, and migrated a couple of thousands of users to ZITADEL. If you want to know more, go to our website, go to our blog, and select the Build With section. So maybe that for some general updates. And I think we can now dive deeper into what really happened, also on a technical level, on ZITADEL level, so the new stuff. I think one thing where we kick off is with metadata. Maybe Max, if you want to start with that.
Sure. So yeah, we have implemented user metadata. User metadata is basically a key value storage for your users. Yeah, you could save some data of your applications, like some aggregations, or you could have some external IDs from third-party APIs. Yeah, you can edit metadata from console, or you can use our APIs. We provide multiple functions like modifying a single attribute to, yeah, importing a whole bunch of data with bulk import. Yeah, and metadata is also part of the login flow, so you can request data from with a scope. Yeah, and there's more to come. We have metadata coming for organizations and applications in the future.
Very good. So but the metadata is not only on user level, right? Is it on which objects is the metadata stored, or can you store metadata at the moment?
Currently, it's on users or built for users only. You can request them with a scope, so you can obtain them with a claim. But yeah, in the future, we will implement it for organizations and applications and so on.
All right, very cool. There was a quick update, and maybe let's jump to another topic then, which is centered around external identity providers. I think external identity providers was, since the beginning, a feature of ZITADEL. We made some updates there, I guess, and introduced some new features. Livio, maybe you want to talk about some of them, what we did in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, in general, we get a lot of more requests in general for ZITADEL. That's why this feature, external IDPs, is much more used by our customers right now. So we found some issues which we had to fix, but added also some functionality. One of which is you can now select an identity provider by scope. This might make sense if you want the user not to choose it by himself, so you can pre-select it. And another one is to enable Autoregister, so the user will automatically be created from the identity provider's data. I can show you that in a minute. And we had some bugs where we wouldn't delete all the external identities data, so you couldn't edit anymore. Kind of a bummer. And some other features were, it's just a lot of improvements there.
Okay, very good. I think, that covers this basically. What we maybe, if we have you already on screen, let's jump to the next topic, which is I guess a bigger feature and kind of a bulk of features that we will introduce and started introducing now, which we call actions. What is actions? What can you do with it? And I think you also maybe can show us a little bit how this will look like in the future. So
Yeah, right. Actions, or the idea behind actions, is to provide admins or developers a possibility to invoke small actions or scripts at defined moments or at certain points during flows. By flows, I mean a login flow or registering a user. And the idea is that they can do custom stuff like call an API or grant the user some authorizations, which I will show you in a minute.
It's custom code basically. You can build in ZITADEL.
Exactly. Yeah. Or in the future, you might want to map some custom claims or whatever, or use metadata. When you log in, you want to provide or set or update some metadata on the user. You could do that with actions. And, yeah.
So it gives you a little bit of freedom. I think we had some reservations always about that, and I think we wrote it also sometimes. What are our reservations against that? So when should you use it? When shouldn't you use it?
One reservation we had was we have to open up or implement or to give you the possibility to script, and that's always kind of a security issue, right? And yeah, maybe one thing is don't overdo stuff. There's a lot of possibility right now already from an API perspective. We allow a lot of stuff from the API, and it might get complicated managing it all in actions.
Okay, yeah. Especially for more complex situations, right? That's maybe one thing where you maybe not should put too much stuff into an identity access management, maybe external service or something. And I think the other thing is you can really hurt your security if you introduce custom code at some point. Okay, good. Can you show us something? Maybe.
Yeah. So I believe you can see my screen here. So I'm right now here on my demo organization with the demo project. Just to show you, it has some roles. Until now, there's no user authorized to use this one. And in the future, we will introduce this action section here. On the upper side, you will have the possibility to manage various actions. I have one here already. That's the add user grant, which will show you. Yeah, in the future, we will change this screen for sure. Maybe we'll add the Monaco editor or something like that. But to give you an example here, I have this function called add user grant, where I will add, got some sound, the contact viewer and time editor roles on the project I just showed you. And I will do that on the external authentication flow by adding it, add it here. And I got various trigger types. Depending on the flow type, we will provide you various triggers where you can call your actions. I will use the post creation, which means the user will get created. And after that, I will, or ZITADEL will call this action. So let's save it right now and open up the login from ZITADEL Dev. I will use my external identity provider, Google, so my login. I already have authenticated at Google, so I'm already back at ZITADEL Dev. I will accept the TOS and privacy. And I mentioned before Autoregister. Autoregister means ZITADEL will take the data we get from the identity provider, so in this case Google, and create the user with this information. So when I create or press the button, I'm already registered. I will skip this part now and go back to the management console. What I see here on the users page, I'm now created. ZITADEL created the user, and if I click on that user, it also created the authorization for the demo project with the roles I have specified before in the action. So just a short demo for what you could do in the future with actions. If you have this kind of use case where you want to grant some default roles or some default authorizations to all your users, that might be possibility to do it with actions.
So very nice. Yeah. So at the moment, I guess this is only available via API, but the UI will follow shortly, right? So presentation or the demo now was in development, but this will be migrated soon. And you have a limited set of flows available, right? And actions. This is for a starting point as well, and can be enhanced in the future, or will be enhanced in the future probably.
Exactly, we're kind of in a early access phase where we are going to roll it out on ZITADEL Cloud and introducing more and more flows and triggers, and we'll have to document it so you can know what to do or what API we provide you in these actions.
Very good, cool. Thanks for that update. Sounds very interesting, and you will certainly hear when we go live with it from our side. Good. I think there's a smaller feature as well. We have in ZITADEL we have a couple of policies, right? So policies are more like settings that you can apply to either the whole system or a specific organization, or even down to certain projects. I think one feature that we introduced was the lockout policy. Lockout policy. What is it? Maybe Florian, if you can give us a little bit of background here, would be nice.
Yeah, the lockout policies are actually a means of disabling or locking a user when some things happen. So in this case, we had a customer asking us whether it is possible to lock users after a certain amount of requests or authentication trials. And we actually released the first version of that policy where an administrator can define, okay, after like a certain amount of login attempts, please lock the user and leave it to be unlocked by an administrator. So that's kind of the thing that the login policy is achieving. There is a whole lot of different ideas to it. So it can be an auto unlock feature as well in a certain amount of time down the road. But for now, we kept it simple by just going for the login attempts and the unlock possibility for the administrator.
Okay, and it sounds like a very basic feature for an identity access management system, right? So basically something that everybody should have, or that would expect in the identity access management application. Why was this not already in ZITADEL, and what were our reservations against this?
Well, the biggest reservations against lockout features is that you are basically being exposed for denial of service scenarios. So if somebody might try to figure out who has a user and what his passwords are, he can basically lock down the user when he tries with enough attempts. And so it's kind of, you can evaluate your own risk against the decision whether you want denial of service or you want to have the possibility to lock out accounts. In the end, it's not a good thing to do from a good practice perspective. So if you want security, go ahead and push for passwordless at that point, because it gives you more security. Because you basically can protect the system by doing rate limitings on certain features. For example, we with ZITADEL have rate limiting in place for to reduce the amount of trials you have to try to log in from a certain IP, for example. Okay. And this limits the attack surface to a better degree than just locking out users when somebody is exploiting that feature. I mean, it can really hinder your business at one point.
Yeah, very nice. Maybe I jumped too far, but also on the future roadmap, right? We have more improvements around passwordless. We have more improvements around reporting and all that stuff. So that will also enhance the capabilities of administrators to secure the service without the means of allowing a denial of service attack, which would be eventually also not very user friendly. Okay, good. But this feature is now live and is being actively used. So we have that in there. Thanks for the elaboration. Then I would suggest that we maybe jump to some further optimizations or to general optimizations of ZITADEL. I think this is something that we obviously continue to work on. I think we also touched it last time. So the basics around it, we still have it ongoing. We call it query side optimization. I think you also see in GitHub a lot of issues there. And a lot of pull requests at the moment. Silvan, you're in the driver's seat there. Do you want to maybe give a little bit more of insights in that, or update what's happening there?
Yeah, sure. I think the last time we just started the refactoring part there, and we made a lot of progress there. Learned a lot during the refactorings. So first, we implemented the new handlers, which synchronize the data between the event store and the table where the data gets queried by the query side. And the query side changes also, and that led to problems where data were unavailable until the query part loaded all the data from the event store. So now we first release only the projection part where we collect all the data from the event store and made them available in the table to query them. And a little bit afterwards, we release the query side change where the user can interact with the new tables we provide. I can give you a short example of how fast it is now.
Sure.
Exactly, you can see my screen now. I just make 2 calls. First, I create an organization, random name, doesn't matter. And afterwards, as soon as I get the response, I will try to get the organization by its ID. So let's start that. So the call is a little bit slow because I'm trying out the new service or DB as a service from Cockroach, and I have to connect to Belgium, and I think I have around 500 milliseconds by default. This time was very fast. So we can go through the requests we just made. We created an organization, nothing special here. And the ID that was created was provided to this call, and this call was made just afterwards. And yeah, the data were already in the new table. So we improved a lot there, because before that we had to query the table and also have to call the event store to ask if there are newer events in it. And we were able to remove this completely. Yeah, I think that is a short overview. The next parts we will change are the login names, and then the organization members and grants will go after that.
Great. Cool. Thank you very much for that update.
Thank you.
I have to jump back a little bit because I think we got a question in the chat from Sebastian, and it's regarding the last features to the lockout policy. So the question is, if a whole company has a lockout policy, isn't it theoretically possible to lock out every employee in an attack and make it inaccessible for the company?
Well, yeah, actually it is. That's kind of the threat vector that exists, and it's hard to mitigate further down the road because, yeah, if an attacker is guessing your usernames, and that can be done quite easily today or nowadays, because most often we rely on email addresses being the login name, and so it's quite easy to guess well which users are there. And so an attacker could enumerate all the possible email addresses with certain passwords to them and basically lock out all of your users. And that's kind of an issue we see more as threat vector and hindering the adoption of a lockout policy mostly. So yeah, a combination of passwordless approach with a valid rate limits to the authentication system is more sane in regards to security and availability working together there. Because yeah, you're basically killing your business at that point when somebody locks out your whole company. And also that might also influence the administrator's ability to manage ZITADEL as well, because if the attacker can gain the login of the administrator, you basically could lock out the administrator as well.
Okay, so the combination, yeah, so theoretically, yes, it's possible. And we recommend basically as you said, like the combination passwordless and the rate limiting. For example, in our case, I guess when you hit the rate limit, you will also be prompted for a CAPTCHA and so on. So to mitigate robo attacks, etc.
Yeah, you go through certain mitigation measures there. There are a lot of them in place, and we publicly disclose the rate limits we enforce. It's kind of 20 requests per 10 seconds to cope for bursts per IP address if you have enterprise scenarios. But still, we enforce that limit with captures and afterwards with blocks as well. So you get shaped out there.
Yeah. And this is especially on our SaaS platform, right, on the public cloud instance.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you run it on your own, you have to make sure that this is also kind of adhered to and implement the best practices. All right, thank you for the question. Let's maybe go a step further. Now we jump back to the optimizations topics, and I guess one part is the Cockroach native backup, or native backup as we call it. Elio, why did we introduce it? How does it help us? What is it? Maybe give us some insights there.
Yeah, we use Cockroach as our database, and we used to use the Postgres commands to dump and restore the database, and the restore times were quite long, about 20 to 30 minutes for our production data, I guess. And in a recent version, Cockroach introduced backup commands or native backup restore functionality, which Cockroach enables to optimize better. So we could reduce the times to about the restore times to about 2 to 3 minutes, I guess, and that's very important in disaster recovery cases. So that makes our services more reliable or easier to to bring back up. That's very important.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I think one additional thing that we have in the optimization section is also something on the documentation. I think I hand back to Silvan on that topic.
Exactly, OpenAPI. I'm not sure OpenAPI is Swagger. It's exactly the same, so it's synonym for us. We provided OpenAPI v2 definition for a longer time, but yeah, it would be nice if we can view it in the Swagger editor by default. So we opened up the API there, and it's now possible to view it directly in Swagger IO is the URL of the domain. On my screen, we can see the docs of ZITADEL with API definitions, and now you can see the Swagger documentation with the links provided there and the REST and the gRPC endpoint. And let's jump to there. It opens the editor from Swagger.io, and now every developer which wants to develop a REST API can scroll through all our requests we have. If you open one, yeah, you can see the body. I think that's clearer for the developers who use it.
Great. I think that was already kind of part of the documentation, right? I think there was an issue with that editor that we also now fixed, so you can open it more easily in Swagger. And I personally think it's a good addition to have also the kind of the rest stuff on there, which is probably easy to understand for some people, and for others they have the other documentation, right? But it gives a little bit more.
Yeah, I think because our API got quite big, the Swagger file, so the JSON is quite big and hard to understand. And I would prefer such a solution if I go through our API and try to find a call. Additionally, we are currently evaluating tools to generate OpenAPI v3. And we think we found a solution there to generate them from our proto files. And yeah, that's one of my next ongoing issues I will work on.
Great. Thank you very much. So let's go maybe a little bit to the fun stuff. We call the section issues and fuck ups. Like last time, I think it's not that much this time, which is good. But a couple of things I think it's interesting. So as last time, let's talk about the stuff that didn't go so well and what we actually learned about it in running our cloud service. Elio, back in August, I think we had some operational issues that eventually also led through a chain to kind of a significant or more significant outage of the service by accident. Can you maybe explain a little bit what didn't work, what you tried to fix, and what eventually led to that outage?
Yes, we had two default configuration that we had to adjust. One was an Nginx directive that allowed Nginx to open a certain amount of file descriptors that we had to increase because when we have many connections, Nginx slows down and doesn't let through open other connections. So we had to add a directive there. And the other was a default config in the Cockroach start commands for cache and maximum SQL memory, which was a default values. They were optimized just for testing and dev purposes, and we had to increase their values to production values. But we had to restore the database. I don't know anymore why exactly we had to restore the database, but we had to do it, and this led to an outage because we had issues there with the restoring process.
So it took longer. It took longer than expected than the restoring of the backup, or
yes, that was before the fix we did before we turned to native backup, as I explained before. So the restoring process was long, and so was the outage.
okay. So there was a couple of accidents basically that led to another, and we had this more kind of, I think it was not down for a day or so, but it was down for a little while, at least an hour or so, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But one mitigation, as you said, probably was also to speed up these restoring times. On the other side, I mean, I think we learned a lot through this, and we also introduced a new policy how we announce certain deployments, or how we announce certain releases to production upfront. Maybe can you elaborate what the new policy is, or maybe if you want, or Florian or Livio or whatever, what the new policy is and why we introduced it and how we do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an improvement in regard to operational excellence that we try to decide whether a release has a high outage risk to it or a low outage risk based on prior evaluation with our internal systems. And if a release has a risk of producing an outage which might get bigger than 15 minutes in total, we will announce a window for our customers to know that we have a release incoming which might affect the service quality. But it's just a risk assessment perspective to reduce the impact on customers. So this is, under normal circumstances, we release without any downtime, and it most of the time works, but it's one time it didn't work there. But the outage prior to that was actually a mishap with the database and not a release outage from that perspective.
Yeah. So changes that go through these that go through a risk assessment, we decide whether an outage could lead to longer than 50 minutes, and we post it, I think, 1 week in advance on our channels. Yeah. Anyways, on top of that, we will try to introduce these changes in times where we don't see much traffic anyways. Yeah. So it should limit the potential risk for customers even more.
Yeah.
Especially where we touch mission critical components like Nginx, which directs the traffic, or Cockroach DB, we make sure we keep the time before we make the changes. We announce that a week in advance.
Perfect. Good. Cool. So let's jump into the outlook, I guess. What's next on our roadmap? What's next with ZITADEL? I think one thing that we can start with is languages. We support, at the moment, we support English and German in ZITADEL. Max, what's the next step here? What are we doing?
So yeah, the next step is actually starting from today. We are officially supporting Italian. It's part of all our services, like login interfaces, console, translations, message text, and error messages, and so on. And yeah, we are an open source project, so we would really appreciate for all the guys out to contribute with a language. And if you really need support for a language and it's not supported yet, we have documented on how you can contribute. It's basically editing a bunch of files. And yeah, we are also providing you a little script which takes or uses the DeepL API to translate those JSON or YAML files. So it takes a little, it's a little less work for you to do. And yeah. So,
which is absolutely great, yeah, because for us it's kind of it's good, but it's a hassle, right? Because every time we update something and introduce new language fields, we have to go through all the languages and update on their own. So probably also in future we will try to kind of get an automated translation first if you don't have all the language skills in the team, yeah, and then it would be very, very much appreciated if the open source community can also contribute it. It's an easy way into starting to contribute to ZITADEL as well. I guess it's a good point. Obviously also for our customers in the cloud service, we will try to keep the quality high of these things and verify it. But any contribution would be very much appreciated, I guess. Cool. So it starts from today, also in Italian. Go for it. I think you can log in and change the language on your profile. I also tried it this morning. It looks awesome. On the next topic, I think it's a little bit more vague. It's a couple of discussions and feedback that we actually received from customers, received from users of ZITADEL. It's regarding how to use ZITADEL when you have, for example, a single product, but then B2C clients, versus if you have multiple products that you want to post. So maybe an agency that develops multiple products, and want to use ZITADEL to manage these different products, the logins for these different products. And even another step is kind of if you have a product, but your users are multiple organizations, so basically B2B clients. And we see that these different scenarios, these different use cases, how you can use ZITADEL, because ZITADEL gives you a lot of freedom around using it for B2C case, B2B case, or for even employee identities only. It offers you all these possibilities. What we will work on is to clear up our communication around it, clear up also our documentation around this, and provide you with more examples how you can do it. I think this is very important because we really see now value, especially in this B2B area, where basically the customers of who use the product are companies, and then you have different other users within these companies that want to self-manage everything. This one is very complicated and is kind of sometimes in stark contrast how you would use it when you set up multiple products. Yeah. And on the one side, we will introduce probably some new stuff that we will talk now about a little bit, what we maybe already done and what we plan to do. And on the other side, we will step up kind of the communication and documentation around that topic. So maybe Livio, I think we already did something in this area already. Can you explain a little bit what it is?
Yeah, for sure. We had a little feature to at least address some issues or one customers had. We added, let's say, a setting on project level where you can specify which or some kind of private label setting. I will show you that to get. Yeah, maybe you can share my screen. Yeah. So I'm actually right now on production. My audio just went off, I think. Do you still hear me?
Yeah, it's fine.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. I'm on production on demo organization. I have my project test, and there's the new private label setting, which is by default unspecified. What this does, I can show you for a second. It's basically the normal flow, which you might already know. When you start on the login, you will get the default design from ZITADEL itself. And if I use my CAOS account, I get the design and the logo from CAOS. But from a product-based perspective, you might want to change this private labeling setting. There are two options right now. Either you can enforce your own policy, which means if I activate this right now and start this one again, that I will get the logo and the design from the organization the project belongs to. So this might be a step if you have one project, or you could create multiple organizations for each project to get the design and logo of your product. So even if I enter my username from the CAOS organization, I will still get the design of your product or of your organization. So this is just the beginning. I think Florian will tell you later on what we're doing next. Yeah, it might help you customize the experience of your product or of the users who are using your product.
Yeah. So this will eventually then, so we go basically with this private labeling, we go also a level deeper on project level, right? And you can enforce it. The link that you activated to get this, right? You have to basically give some special parameters within the call, right, to trigger this, or how does it work?
No, it's actually I just saved the link, so I will authenticate using the client test from that project. So It's based on the client, which belongs to the project, and all is done by itself. You don't have to specify any special parameter or anything else.
Okay.
Just set the policy right here.
Okay, perfect. Very good. Thanks for the quick demo. I think also another quick thing, and it's very recent, so I only give you the headlines. We also have a example repo in GitHub, where we publish certain applications that might help you to kickstart the development. Yeah. And we also included now an example which is a little bit more complicated maybe than the other ones, but it showcases you a case where you want maybe a customer portal with different applications in it, and you can grant different organization access to the different applications in this portal, and maybe also do stuff like you have an admin user who wants then to edit their users in within their organizations to also get access to different applications in this customer portal. Because this is something that we see very often, which is kind of hard to explain in a pure documentation way, and it's very easy to show basically in this demo. So maybe if you are working on something where you need not only an SSO part for your customers, but also maybe authorization to the customers, and then kind of enabling them in a self-service manner to manage their users, this would be a very good starting point for you to try out. It should be very well documented at the moment, and you should be able to set it up. If not, just as always, kind of get in touch with us, and we might help you to get it up running, or show it to you. So on this topic in general, what are the plans for the future? Is there something else that we want to address?
Well, one of the biggest features we're looking at right now is kind of giving our customers more control over certain parameters that ZITADEL provides. For example, we want to give our customers the option to configure their own mail services to get messages to their customers. For example, like using Twilio or SendGrid or a good old SMTP server. And so we want to make sure that those features get into the organization level as well, so that the customers get more control, especially in regard to data safety. If they want to get control where mails are sent through and stuff, that's one part of the story we will improve in the near future. And as well, we are in the midst of creating the ability to run certain parts of ZITADEL within your domains. So, for example, the login page and the console will soon be able to use your own domain infrastructure. So, for example, if you want to use like a login.caos.ch, you could use that as means for the login page. So you get even more customers to easily recognize your login page. It's kind of the improvement we're planning to do. There is no fixed timeline to it, but still, we need to make sure a lot of security discussions happen there, especially around the ability to verify domains, get certificates running, and rotate the certificates easily and stuff. And so it's kind of a more security-centered feature, and so it takes more time to get it properly done. And I think those are the two things that will happen in the not so far future, because if we feel they are important to our customers, and so we want to make sure that we really can leverage that brand identity topic there.
That's very great. Yeah. So in general, I mean, how to use the application is kind of we also experienced that from your feedback, and please provide any feedback that you have. If you can't figure out something, let us know. If you think something should work differently, let us know. Get in touch with us. We appreciate all the feedback, and actually we also rely on that to further optimize certain things, because some things just need more explaining to do, and ZITADEL is already able to handle that. Or maybe it's smaller tweaks that don't take long and can be implemented easily. Other things where we maybe do some more long shots or more innovation is needed, take maybe a little bit more time, but the sooner we get the feedback, the sooner we also can start shaping that future, which is very important. So thanks for the support also on that side. I think we are ready for my last point on the whole thing is the roadmap. So maybe Livio, what's on the roadmap, or what are we working on product side in the next couple of weeks and months?
Yeah, for sure. By the end of this week, we should get certified for OpenID provider. we submitted last week, waiting for a status update there.
So that will mean
then-
that that is basic then for ZITADEL, right? So OpenID Connect
for ZITADEL itself.
certification for ZITADEL itself. Okay.
Yeah, right. Next, we already have mentioned that one is actions. We're extending that one, adding new flows, actions, triggers, whatever, and add documentation. So you will, help you out with documentation. Let's say it like that. Next on is SAML. We'll start work on SAML. I think next month, something like that. Right now, we only provide OpenID Connect interface. So SAML is a big issue there. Then still ongoing, already talked about that one as well, is query optimizations, which enables us to begin with the reporting feature to let customers create reports, or we will provide you with some insight reports on how your organization is doing, or how users are using ZITADEL within your organization. And one big topic is login flow. So the whole login UI will add improvements to that one, push passwordless or WebAuthn even further, and try to improve the experience for users and organizations even more there. Yeah, that's about it.
Very well. Cool. So thanks for that update. I think we also, we always publish the current milestones also on GitHub, which people can see. Also kind of the discussions around prioritization and features, upcoming features. We try to lead that also openly in the GitHub discussions. So if you're interested or particularly interested in something, go ahead, open an issue, get in touch with us, and and let us know what you need and which priority you need. Yeah. I think we're at the end, which is kind of good. So we stayed under an hour. Let me check quickly if we have any other questions, maybe on that side, on the different channels. I don't think so at the moment, which is good. Anyways, you know how to reach us. Get in touch on the website. You can find the different emails on GitHub. You can find discussions if it's product related. You also see some handlers maybe on Twitter or whatever channel you want. Don't hesitate. Get in touch if you have something. If you find the product interesting. If you have any feedback. Great. And anyways, I think we will schedule a next session in a couple of weeks from now.
We left out one thing. It just struck me. It's kind of, we published the penetration test report as well in the blog, which should be kind of interesting for people who want to dive deeper into how we're doing things and how we're checking things and make sure that certain topics are secure. So go ahead and check out the pen test if you want to dig down.
Yeah, I think we also published not only the results and the findings, but also kind of the complete report, right, with all the details, which is available on our website.
Yeah, we just blanked out like PIIs and stuff and certain values, but in all overall, it's kind of the report we received from the pen tester, and so we really want to make sure that we be transparent as it gets. Nonetheless, we had the report some time ago and we already mitigated issues up front. So it's kind of not, we're publishing a report without these unsolved issues.
Very good to note, yeah. Absolutely. Great. Yeah, you can find it on zitadel.ch/blog. Check out the pen test results, H1. That's the one. Good. Great. Then thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.